How's it going, guys and girls and everyone else? So we have a lot of confusion in the automotive industry about how flat rate works. So I'm going to shoot a very quick, hopefully, video because this is a little complicated on how it works because I actually teach this. I teach automotive in a high school to high school kids. And so I don't get paid flat rate. I get paid a salary because I'm an educator. And I don't really have a dog in the fight. I just have to try and explain to high school kids how it works. So here is the deal. Here's how it works. Um, we understand as a society salary, where you get paid a regular amount all the time. We understand hourly wages because a lot of us start out in hourly wage jobs, or in general, there's a lot of jobs that are like however much time you spend is how much you get paid. The problem with an hourly wage, direct hourly wage for mechanics, is it does not incentivize speed or efficiency. If mechanics get paid based on the actual amount of time that it takes them, there's no reason for them to try and be efficient and get stuff done faster. And the customer has a huge incentive for their work to be done more quickly. Whenever you drop your car off, that's an inconvenience. Even if it's an extra vehicle and you drop it off, it is time you can't use the vehicle because it's being worked on. If we could run it like McDonald's and your next, I don't know, tune up with spark plugs and wires because you have an old car, I guess, and everything else, took the same time as getting a Happy Meal, then that would be different. Well, that would be great. Um, But that's just not how this works. You need someone who is a mechanic, who is skilled, who has built the knowledge and skill base to be able to correctly fix and repair and diagnose your car. So we can't run it like McDonald's. It just can't be that fast because it takes more time to do some stuff. So anyway, you have a huge incentive as a customer to get your car back as quickly as possible. Even if it's just a fun vehicle and you're like, hey, I want to put a supercharger on my Corolla. Yeah, they actually do make a bolt on for that. Toyota does. Weird. But yeah, anyway, that's just for fun. It's a third car, right? Well, you're going to have to drop it off. You're going to have to go through some steps. You're going to want that toy back as quickly as possible. As a customer, you have a huge incentive to get your car back as fast as possible. You want it back. So the industry has come up with a plan to make that happen, to incentivize efficiency. And the plan is like this. Let's say you need a starter on your 2010 Ford F-150. I don't know, I'm making this up. I'm going to make up numbers and times too because I don't want to go look it up. So if you need a starter on your F-150 and it's what's going to happen is the industry, there's a group, they'll have several techs go through, do that repair, time them, see how long it takes, take an average, and be like, this is about how long it should take to do the starter. The average time was 1.2 hours. I made that up. I don't know. And so when you go to get that done, that is the average of how long it should take a mechanic. And then the customer will pay whatever the rate is for those hours. So if you go in with your car and it's not starting, first off, they're probably going to charge you some diagnostic time because the mechanic's going to have to go through and be like, well, is it the battery? Is it a connection? Like, there's 4 or 5 things worth checking because you don't want to buy a starter when it's a $5 relay. So you'll get probably, I don't know, half an hour of diag time. It varies by shop, but whatever. And they're like, hey, your starter's bad. That'll be a charge of 1.2 hours. So if the shop charges $100 an hour, the mechanic is not getting all of that, by the way. They get an hourly rate that's whatever their hourly rate. But if the shop charges half an hour for diag, 1.2 for the starter, you're looking at an hour and a half at $100 an hour is $150 of labor for you to get the starter put on with diagnostic time. So first off, you got the half hour of diag. They come out after half an hour and they're like, hey, we have determined it is your starter and it'll be this much, blah, blah, blah. Now, what's going to happen is they're going to go back there and let's say the mechanic gets done in 45 minutes, right? You're like, cool, I got my car back, you pay the bill, you drive around, and then at some point you're going to look back at the bill and be like, hey, this said 1.2 hours. It only took him 45 minutes, or maybe half an hour, or maybe even 15 minutes. Why did I pay for time that it didn't take them? Well, you paid for the time that's an average. You paid for the average amount of time it would take. And in this case, the tech got it done faster, which was a huge incentive to him because now he can go to the next job. And it's also a huge incentive for you. I mean, did you really want to sit in that waiting room for another half hour? Like, the magazines are not that interesting. You've already scrolled through Facebook or Instagram or whatever twice. So, I mean, like, I'd rather have that half hour of my life back personally. Um, so yeah, that's why that's the way it is. That is the average time. Now, the mechanic is assuming some risk here because if it takes him 2 hours, he's not going to get paid for anything over 1.2. So if he's got that thing back there, that's almost an hour of time he's just lost. Like, he doesn't get. And probably the first time he did a few of those starters, that's exactly what happened. So the whole system is set up to incentivize efficiency, and and that's why it is the way it is. And we get twisted up because we're not used to using the term hours this way, um, and that's where a lot of confusion comes in. Also, it's worth noting if you have to come back for a starter related issue or if something's wrong, you're not going to be paying for that, right? Like, it's probably covered. So that's time the tech's going to eat, the shop might eat, that you're not going to pay for. And then, so that's time they have to spend doing the thing. Um, Warranty time doesn't pay the same rate either. So, like, there's several factors here. If your tech gets the job done faster, then that's just good for you. That's great. That helps everyone. Now, if they cut corners to do it, then, that's obviously a problem. But, I mean, that's where you gotta, like, I don't know, go to a better shop. But also, they're going to be responsible for the work. So if they cut the corners, they're screwing themselves at some point because you're going to bring it back. They're going to spend more time fixing it correctly or whatever. Um, so So yeah, it's really an efficiency thing because once you've done that Ford F-150 starter 4 or 5 times, you're going to be able to do it faster because you'll immediately know the things that you need to get it done and set it up and do the thing. Um, Hopefully, if you're a good, efficient tech. And then that helps the customer get their car back faster. Now, on bigger jobs, this is more obvious. If they're like, hey, we have to, I don't know, replace your transmission. It's a 5 hour job. And you're like, well, that sucks. And Ian, they're like, let's say for the sake of argument, they have a brand new transmission sitting there, um, and they can put it right in. And you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll be sitting here for 5 hours. And they get it done in 3 hours. And then you get a bill that says 5 hours. And you're like, what happened? Well, what happened is you got 2 hours of your life back. The efficiency that they're building into the system here, um, that's great for you. That means you didn't sit there for 2 more hours. It also means that if it took him 7 hours, you're only going to pay for 5. Sometimes that stuff happens. That absolutely happens. You get a car with a regular rate, and then something's rusty, something goes sideways. Like, it might take you extra time. That doesn't mean they're a bad tech. That means, like, that stuff just happens. When's the last time you did a weekend project and you had to go back to Lowe's or Home Depot 3 or 4 times? Like, that happens to us too. So having a time that is the average is helpful to incentivize efficiency. Everybody wins. It's not a perfect system, but it's way better than the techs charging the actual time it took, or the shop charging the actual time it took. That would just be horribly messy. And it's not the industry standard. So if your tech does it faster and correctly, that's good for you. So don't get twisted up there. Hopefully that helps. I don't get paid flat rate, like I said, so I don't really have a dog in this fight. Either way, I just teach automotive to high school kids and have to explain it. So there we go.